here with a general orientation to academics in particular. Again, everyone, my name is Greg Martin. I'm the head of the Upper School and Assistant Head for Academics here at Ranney School. Welcome. First, before we get started, I'd like to introduce Gwyneth Hecht. I know all of you know Gwyneth and Greg, Mr. Swenson, from your admissions work that you've been doing, but she'd like to say a few words here, and in this way we'll sort of be formally handing off the baton from the admissions office to the academic and programmatic team here at Ranney School. Gwyneth?
Well, good evening, everyone. As Dr. Martin mentioned tonight, it's in some way the unofficial handoff from admissions to other departments in the school. That said, Greg Swenson and I are 12-month employees, and we will be around throughout the summer. So if there's anything you need in that time, or just forget who to contact, you are more than welcome to continue allowing us to be your frame of reference as you move on to upper school. I told Dr. Martin I'd be 30 seconds, but indulge me just 1 minute. Students, quick little life lesson. So, as you move into careers and jobs, you should at some points have your why moments. Why do you do what you do, and why do you love what you do? So tonight is one of those moments for Mr. Swenson and I, because we get to look at an auditorium full of amazing young scholars and athletes and musicians and artists, and know that we have a small role in helping you find your way to Ranney. Now we get to sit back and get to see everything that you're going to accomplish over the next 4 years. So it's a really exciting meeting. Switching to total business now. Parents. Something that Ms. Bedford, you will be getting to know her throughout this evening, and of course after today, and Ms. Curry. But one item of business. Come June, whether it be middle of June, end June, when your children are winding down at your current school. Now, of course, this excludes our Ranney 8th graders who are moving up, but it's your responsibility to get the ball rolling with having your child's records transferred to us. We'll help with that process. We'll send some reminders to the school, but they do need parent requests. There will be a release form up on My Ranney, probably within at least by the first week in June, and we'll send you some reminders. But I do just need to plant that seed now that you want to notify your current school you're leaving and follow whatever their procedure is for having them send us their official academic records, health records, which also includes their immunization records for our school nurse. So that's all we have from admissions. Mr. Swenson is hiding over there, but I think a lot of you have met him throughout your process. And I think the floor is you, Ms. Curry. Dr. Martin, come on.
A good segue. It really is a distinct honor to be able to witness all the wonderful things that our Ranney students do on a regular basis. Let's start with, some of you may have been wondering why there were some beach balls here in Panther Hall today. We had our last town hall of the year. It was very celebratory. It was a wonderful experience. Our student council president was dressed up as a banana and told all kinds of, he said he was going to split at the end of the town hall. But don't mistake his intense love of humor for any kind of him being a slack or anything. He has done incredible things here as a student. He's a scholar, artist, and athlete of character who has distinguished himself, is going on to a great college. I was able to teach him as a capstone student, and he did a Ranney reality TV show for his capstone project. Some students do intense academic work if they take a capstone course, but John will have an opening red carpet party tomorrow. We'll see his pilot episode of the TV show that he made. That's just one of many examples. We're hoping, knock on wood, we have a state baseball championship coming up. We just had our winter concert where our orchestra, our chorus, and our band all performed at extremely high levels. We mounted Mamma Mia as our spring musical. Our students from our own band were the pit. So just think about that for a second. Many schools have to hire professional musicians. Our students are the ones that play professional level music that make our actors and singers and dancers look great and sound great on stage. So it's a great place. The core, though, of course, is what we do here academically. We want the students to expand their minds and their horizons. We want this experience to be personal. Some of you have met with me or Ms. Curry or another faculty member to do predictive scheduling meetings. We are here to help you think through the possibilities of what you can do academically for the next, or if you're coming in as a sophomore or junior, next 4, 3, 2 years of your academic career. We're excited about working with you on this. So, I've said enough. I'd like to introduce Ms. Marie Curry and Mary Ann Bedford. Marie is our academic dean, also teaches in the history department. My daughter was lucky enough to have her in APUSH, AP US History, a couple years ago, and the students so loved how Marie taught that course that they asked her, have you had a chance to see Hamilton yet? She said no. And they loved what she did with them as a classroom teacher so much they all chipped in and got her ticket to see Hamilton up on Broadway. Mary Ann just joined us in the fall and has been doing a great job as our registrar. So the two of them will work together to build schedules. At this point, I'd like to introduce Marie and Mary Ann to walk you through how we will handle some of this academic scheduling.
Hi everyone, how are you? As Dr. Martin said, my name is Mary Ann Bedford. I am the upper school registrar, so basically with that position I work with Marie Curry a lot to kind of go over the curriculum for the students and make sure everybody's meeting their requirements in order to graduate. So what we'll do today is go over just general information that you'll need to know in order to graduate, and part of this will help you to kind of plan out your curriculum over the next few years as well. I know Dr. Martin met with a lot of you to kind of talk about not only what you're looking at for next year as a freshman or some of the transfer students as a sophomore or junior, but also what you can get out of the education at Ranney as a whole. So we do have 21 credits of academic coursework that are required. So the credits work with full and half-year courses. When you're taking a full-year course at Ranney, that's considered a one-credit course. When you're taking a half-year course, those are 25 or a half-credit course. So we'll go over some of the options for those courses throughout. We do require 4 years of English, pretty standard across curriculum in New Jersey. We require 3 years of history, math, and science for our students. 2 to 3 years of a world language. This is important to know because some students do plan to move forward in their world language. We'll talk about this in a bit, but move forward in their world language to places maybe a second or third level world language as a freshman. That's very common, it's not a problem. We'll go over the details in a minute. However, it's still important for you to understand the amount of time you should be taking your world language credits. When you're looking at college in the future, Ms. Massino will come and speak with some of you in just a bit. You want to make sure that you're meeting the requirements that colleges are looking at. So while you may be already at Spanish level 4 as a freshman, they still want to see students taking multiple years of world languages. So don't think just that you're hitting Spanish level 4 your freshman year, you're out for the rest of the languages for the rest of your academic career. We do require 1 full year of an art. That could be performing arts or visual arts. And a lot of our arts courses are half-year courses. So that's really where you're seeing half credit and you're taking 1 full year. It does not have to be consecutive. So some students will take, of course, their freshman year for a half year and then finish their second half credit their senior year. So that can kind of work to your advantage if you plan that out ahead of time. And then we have 4 elective credits that the students are required to take. The health and phys ed requirements, we do require 1 semester for freshmen. The students all take this as a full class. So when you look at the schedule in just a few minutes, you'll see that we have community time every day at 2 o'clock. That is when the students would take their phys ed or their health requirement. So the entire freshman class would take it second semester together. It's not every day. It's a curriculum based off of the required hours for this semester. Sophomore year, they will take it the entire year, and junior year for 1 semester. When you get into phys ed, that is something that's a little unique here, especially if you're used to maybe a public school curriculum. We don't require the students to take physical phys ed in the building. Most of the time, our students who are athletes, one season of a sport will cover your phys ed requirement for the year. If you're not an athlete at Ranney School, that's absolutely fine. You can meet the requirements of other things. Sometimes you have dancers or athletes that play outside of Ranney. So what would happen is we would work with the phys ed department to make sure that you're covering the requirements to meet the phys ed credit for the year. Also, we do offer some options in school. So if there's a student who's really not involved in too much athletically out of school, we also offer options in school, yoga, walking, and different programs like that. Pretty easy to meet those requirements, don't get caught up on them right now. Main Master is a really great, unique opportunity that we offer at Ranney School. So with Main Master, what happens is we finish up school at the very end of May. It's considered Main Master, most of it happens in June, but, and we have a lot of different experiential learning opportunities for our students. Some of the, as Dr. Martin said, I'm new this year, so I'm just learning about this as well, and some of the ones that caught my eye I thought were really interesting. We do have experiential learning outside of the school and even travel trips. So this year we're doing Costa Rica, Australia, France, Acadia National Park, and Boston. So those are really great opportunities for the students to travel as a group with chaperones through Ranney and to do learning experiences outside of the classroom that way. But also some of the things we do inside of my Ranney or kind of locally. We have a podcasting Main Master this year. We have golf, career exploration, astronomy. So there's a ton of options for the students to really get to explore something outside of just the traditional standard curriculum and to learn kind of what they might be interested in the future as well. We can't guarantee space on a trip every year, so what'll happen is we do sign up to the beginning of the year, and we do encourage students to sign up early and to really understand what Main Masters are available for them that year. Some of the other programming, especially for freshmen, we have Freshman 101. We also do with upperclassmen peer mentors, so they will be helping the new freshmen and the new students kind of acclimate into Ranney School. We do college transition. Ms. Mattesino, I'm sure will touch on this when she meets with you. She's one of our deans of college counseling. College transition, we work with juniors and seniors as a group to really make sure that they know all of the general requirements for college and they're stepping up to make sure they're meeting requirements early. So we're already working with juniors over the last few weeks to make sure they're starting their college essays. You don't want to start your college essay at the beginning of your senior year because that's something that you can already have started doing drafts before you can get into senior year. Curriculum overview. We have some certificate programs as well. So we do offer a certificate in global citizenship and we offer a certificate in STEAM. These are 4-year certificates. So these require these require students to participate in different programs throughout their entire time. It's always a good thing. What we do offer is a curriculum guide, so that's something that we will send out to the students so you can see. It's on our website as well in the backpack through My Ranney. But with the curriculum guide, it lays out exactly what these certificates are for. These certificates do not take the place of an AP class. They are not something that's going to, let me get the certificate instead of taking AP Lang. But what we do is we encourage, especially maybe for the students that aren't taking all AP classes or maybe feel like they want to kind of boost up their resume a little bit before college, we encourage them to meet some of these certificate requirements to just kind of help them feel like they're moving and having some different experiences before college starts. Some of the certificates include culinary projects and year-end reflection, so they do build from year to year. It's something you would start looking into your freshman year. Okay. So in terms of the curriculum recommendations and requirements, so the core classes are English, history, math, science, world language. These are core classes that students have to take for whatever amount of time each department requires. But then we also have electives. So there's a lot of different options for students in electives. We do have, even though English is a core requirement, we have a number of electives also in English. So we have students that are taking AP Lit as a senior, AP Literature as a senior, but they're also taking some of our elective English courses like women's writers or African American history. So we have different electives that come up in each department depending on the grade level the students are in. We do require 5 courses, 5 credits worth of schooling each year. We strongly encourage the students to take 6. So we do have 7 we call them blocks, so 7 sections throughout the year. If you're taking 5 credits, then basically what would happen is you'd have 2 study halls each semester, and that's really a lot of study hall work for the students. It's kind of a lot of downtime, and that's not usually the best. There are some students that work better with that, if they might have a learning plan or something along those lines. So we really encourage 6 courses, and with 6 courses, that will leave you with 1 study hall for each semester. We do allow 7 courses where the student would have no study hall at all in the semesters, but those cases need to be approved by the academic team, Ms. Curry, and they are on a case-by-case circumstance. It's not automatic approval for having a full caseload of 7 classes. And Ms. Curry's going to talk a little bit about the.
And before Marie gets started, I did want to let everyone know, we're recording this, we'll send the slides, so we'll post the slides to Ranney as well, so feel free to take pictures, but just know that we'll get you this information digitally as well.
Thanks, Dr. Martin. We're doing a bit of a tag team tonight, you can see. For those of you who are coming up from our 8th grade and Ranney Middle School, you will know the block schedule that you see here. It's just slightly different from the one the middle school has. But basically what we have are, as Ms. Bedford said, 7 academic periods that are spread out over 2 days. So as you can see here, right, on A day, we have periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then on B day, we have 5, 6, and 7. But you'll notice also that for 5 days out of the 6-day rotation, period 3 meets almost every day, except for a day when we have town hall. So that's a shorter period, but it meets more often. But the norm for most of our classes is to be for 70 minutes every other day. We started this block schedule back during the bad old days of COVID, but we actually think that it works well for us, and we've kept it ever since then. And it's certainly much better in person than it was online that spring, as you recall. In addition to the 7 academic periods split over the 2 days, you can see here on the schedule as well that in addition to a very brief advisory period in the morning, just enough for, to check in for attendance and so on, we also have, of course, around the middle of the day, a lunch period. You'll see it noted as lunch flex because usually, let's say, the freshmen and sophomores will have lunch, and then at the same time, the flex is for the juniors and seniors to have essentially like a free half hour or so. And then they flip, so then the juniors and seniors have lunch, and then the freshmen and sophomores have that flex period. So there's that, and then at the end of the day, you can see where it says community time, which Mrs. Bedford already mentioned, and that has a rotating series of programs that we do. Might be extended advisory, where we get together with advisories and get advice from our advisors and so on, and also other types of programming. There are assemblies in that period, all kinds of different things. So that is as much a part of our program as the academic courses are. It's just that it comes at the end of every day. And then after that, something which is optional is activities. So these are activities aside from athletics, which also, as you know, we have a lot of as well. But these are the activities like, student council and newspaper and yearbook and all kinds of other fun clubs that maybe Ms. Patience, who's the Dean of Student Life, can talk to you more about. So there's that. Let me talk to you a little bit about course levels. We have, of course, college prep. Everything is at least college prep here at Ranney. Some courses can be taken at an honors level and some at an AP level. The college prep level, in terms of the kind of workload that you students should expect, should be about 2.5 hours of homework per week. I'm saying it per week because one of the things you have to think about with a block schedule like this that rotates is that you have to start developing good time management skills. You can't always leave everything until the day before it's due. Teachers will give longer-term assignments, and you have to kind of plan your days and periods out to make sure you can get things done on time. And that's where the Ranney system, where you have the assignment page, which Mr. Flanagan showed you earlier tonight, comes in handy for that sort of planning. But most college prep courses, I would say about 2.5 hours a week in terms of homework, sometimes a little more, depending on if you're doing a test or something, sometimes a little less. And of course, it depends on the student as well, sort of how quickly they read and so on. For honors, we have a couple ways of doing honors here. There are separate sections of honors in things like math and science and world language. So if you are taking French, you might be in French or French 1 or French 1 honors. Well, actually, French 2 or French 2 honors. French 1 doesn't have an honors component. Or Algebra 2 or Algebra 2 honors. So for those sorts of disciplines, we feel it's better to split the group up into CP and honors. However, in English and history, especially in 10th grade, What we do is that we have an integrated section with students who are both taking a class for college prep credit and for honors credit. So they have the same classroom experience, but the students who choose to do honors credit do extra independent work outside of the classroom, whether that be a project, which is what we usually do in our history classes, or papers, reading extra novels and so on, and doing papers on those novels for English classes. So that's what we do in terms of honors level in sophomore year. Many of you, of course, are coming into freshman year, and freshman year we don't offer honors in the English or history area of things, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And any kind of honors enrollment is really based on your previous grades. And as you can see, about 3.5 hours a week, a little bit more for honors credit is what you should expect. And then finally, AP, Advanced Placement, which is a program run by the College Board. And AP courses were originally designed for students who could actually take college-level courses while still in high school. And of course, since the College Board started the program, I think it was back in the 40s or 50s, certainly it was there by the 60s, the program has grown, very much so. We offer altogether about 20 or 21 AP courses here. We don't necessarily want students to take all of them because certainly it would be a heavy, heavy load. But we do have limits on how many AP students can take because we want to make sure they have a life, and some balance. So normally we limit APs to 1 in sophomore year, 3 in junior, and 4 in senior. So that's generally the way we do APs. Because really, APs are geared to students who are really interested in the subject and who are really willing to put in the time that's required, because it's a significant amount of time. Lots of material, right? And I would say about 5 hours of homework a week is probably the norm for an AP class. And again, that depends, very much on the discipline itself, and again on the student and how quickly they can read, especially important for things like AP English literature, and absorb the material and so on. So, that's certainly something to think about if you're really interested in a certain discipline and feel you do well with it. And those of you coming just into freshman year, this is not something that you have to worry about now. But as you go on, you'll get guidance from your advisors, your teachers, and your college counselors as to whether different AP classes might be a good fit for you. So that's certainly coming up. I think I'm heading over here again for a few.
Scurry's trying to trip me out because she didn't go to the next slide yet.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so as we talked a little bit about getting into the actual course placement and how we're placing our new students to Ranney. So for students who are current Ranney students, 8th graders at Ranney School, what we're doing is we're working with your current 8th grade teachers and we're getting placement through those means. So basically the teachers are letting us know what level you should fall into for your courses. When you look at, we'll go over in a second, but some of the courses we do offer honors level for freshman year, and some courses we don't, so we'll talk about that in just a second. But the one thing that all of the new students, whether they're rising 9th graders or coming from outside of Ranney, is that you do get to choose electives for the year. So as I mentioned before, we encourage 6 courses per year, so that would include 1 full year elective or 2 half-year elective courses. We will be sending out to all the families a Google Sheet, a Google form, and through this form it'll explain to you all of the elective options that are available to new students, and you'll be able to choose a few of the options that you'll be interested in taking and kind of rank those options you've had. We do always require students to put alternates, so while you may love a certain course, we always require an alternate because there are times where even though you meet all the requirements for that course, if it does not fit into your schedule, there's nothing you can do, we just can't make it work. So that usually happens a little bit more as you get into an upperclassman. You might have an AP or a specific course that's only offered 1 section, and maybe you have another course that you really want to take, but it's only offered that same section as your AP Lit course. So that's really where we want to have alternates from every student to make sure that we can get you into, if it's not your first choice class, at least your second or third choice class. Like I said, you will receive the Google form to fill out from us. It'll also ask you a few other questions, but for the most part, it's going to be for elective courses. Students coming from outside of Ranney, What we've done is we've reviewed through our department chairs your curriculum work up until this point. So all of our department chairs were given access to the year 7 and 8th grade records, sometimes 6, depending on what you've taken, and they've suggested a placement for the courses you should be taking. Some of those are pretty cut and dry, if you're taking Algebra 1, to move on to the next math level, that kind of thing. Some courses, moving into physics, honors, or regular level with physics, we are basing it off of maybe a teacher recommendation, but also the course grades that you have in that course. When you look at the honors levels for English and history, we do not offer honors level for freshman year. That starts sophomore year. So we do have English 9 and world history, so those are pretty easy to place because everyone's taking the same course. When you look at science, so we offer physics, require physics for all of our new freshmen, but with physics we do offer a regular college prep level and an honors level. So there are some prerequisites required to go into honors based off of the math curriculum you've taken in the past, and also your grades in your science courses. And the same with math. So with math, everybody's on a different level because not everyone's coming in with 8th grade math or algebra or geometry or whatever it may be. We do move up to multivariable calculus at Ranney School. Usually that's upperclassmen, but we actually have some students who are in 8th grade taking AP Calc, ABA, or BC. So we don't have a cap on exactly what you can take. It's all based off of the curriculum work we've done in the past. If you are very high level and we're seeing that it's a course that maybe isn't, the progression might be a little different than a traditional progression for a 9th grader, that's something where we would have a meeting with you and make sure that we're getting the curriculum for you in the math department that works best for your educational goals and what you're moving forward to. We also offer acceleration courses through our Ranney Summer Institute. So you could take a course through Summer Institute, and actually that would meet the requirements. So say you want to skip geometry, you don't want to take it for the full year, then you could take it in Summer Institute. There are a lot of other programs outside of Ranney, but we do really strongly encourage you to have a full conversation if you're looking at an outside program, because sometimes they're not going to be on a transcript. They're not an official program, and that's not going to help you move forward. So we have, if you're looking at a New Jersey State school, most of them do require geometry to be on your transcript. So even if you understand every concept of geometry and you can move on, if it's not listed on your transcript, then you're not going to be a viable candidate when you're applying to college for those courses. So through our academic department and through our college counseling office, those are conversations you can have with us. If you're not sure, come and talk to us and we can work with you through that process. With world languages, we offer Spanish, French, and Mandarin. For the rising students, so the students who are currently in 8th grade at Ranney School, the department chairs will tell us where you should place into those courses. You can also choose to do another language, a new language. For students outside of Ranney, what will happen is we'll look at where you stand right now, and we have a virtual placement test. So we would, if you're interested in moving, even if you've taken Spanish for 5 years, we don't know if it's in a full year class, sometimes you can take it once a week. You're not always covering the same curriculum you would cover as a student here at Ranney. So you don't automatically go to Spanish 2 or 3. But a lot of our students do have the ability to move on to a higher level, so what we would do is we have a virtual placement test. It would be sent out to you, and you'd be able to take that test so we can gauge what level of you are in that language and where you should be placed for the next year. And then for arts requirements, as we mentioned before, we do require 1 full year of an art, whether it be performing or visual arts. A lot of those courses are full year, some of them are half year as well. So we encourage our students to take those courses freshman year, especially because either you have the requirements done then and you don't have to worry about it senior year if you're trying to fit in another course. Or if you really are interested in the program, then you can build on that and get to a really high level by the time you graduate. These are the courses that are offered through performing arts. So these are the full year courses for incoming students. These do require approval from the directors. So while orchestra sounds great, if you don't play an instrument, it's probably not the best course for you. So we are going to ask the departments to review and make sure that you're meeting the requirements for these high level courses. And then these are the performing arts half year courses. So when you're looking at half year courses, most of these are starting from day 1 of the class. So you don't need to have acting background to take acting 101. So these are the courses that even as a freshman, if you don't have background, but it's something you might be interested in, or you just think it would be fun to be, to take this course as a required, half year semester art course, absolutely take one of these courses. We're kind of on the same trajectory here with the visual arts as well. So this is a breakdown of all the visual arts classes, a nice little visual. The visual arts gave us a visual. It makes sense. But we do require the students to take foundations of art first if they're a freshman. You can place out of foundations of art based off of the previous coursework. Once again, a current Ranney student who's in 8th grade, we would talk to Ms. McCarthy and she would let us know if you could place above foundations of art. If you're coming from outside of Ranney, we could talk to your current art teacher and work with the portfolio to see if you have met the requirements that would be able to place you outside of the foundations of art course. When you look at level 2 courses, most of those are still, while they do require foundations as your first course, they do start from the beginning as well. So to take level 2 graphic design, you don't have to have graphic design background. You don't have to have level 1 graphic design. You have to have foundations, learning all of the foundations of the art courses, and then you can start with level 2 graphic design. This is just this information, kind of written away. The semester electives, as Dr. Martin said, we will send this around to everybody, so you'll be able to see this. It's also in the curriculum guide. And then we also, for electives for incoming students, one of the other options for freshman year is Introduction to Robotics. It sounds like a silly question, but this does not cover your art requirement. It's a 1 semester course, so it's a half credit. Because it's one of the few electives offered outside of the performing or visual arts, a lot of people think that it's also covering that art requirement, but it doesn't. I've had that come up a few times already. All right, you're up.
Most of what we've talked about tonight really applies mostly to rising 9th graders. Can I just start a show of hands of the students here? How many of you are coming in at the 10th grade level or above? Can you just raise your hand? Okay, so there's a few here tonight. I'm going to go over this pretty quickly, but in many ways, your course placement is a lot more individualized, obviously. And so the college counselors will be reaching out to you for your course placement for next year, based again on your previous transcript and so on. But depending on what year you're coming in, sophomore or junior, some of you, things can look very different. But this is kind of a very quick overview. So there's lots more electives available in addition to the core courses, right? So for example, for English, if you're coming in as a sophomore, there's English grade 10. You can take that as either honors or college prep. In grades 11 and 12, the English department really, blossoms out with lots of semester electives that things like, I think it was mentioned already, women writers, African American literature, fairy tale theory. I mean, there's so many different ones, ethics and literature, philosophy for literature. There's lots of options. If you're interested in taking AP courses at the junior or senior year, you can take AP English Literature and Composition or AP English Language and Composition. So those are both AP English classes that are available to you as well. For history, in grade 10, we can take, everyone takes US history, but you can take it at the CP level, the honors level, or the AP level. There's also another history elective that you can take starting sophomore year and even up to senior year if you choose to wait until then, called Global Citizens. This is a very important course for anyone who's interested in the Global Citizenship Certificate, but even students who don't elect to pursue that certificate really love the course. We actually are an NGO, a non-governmental organization with the UN, believe it or not, and I don't think too many high schools are that. But we've pursued that over the years, and we've done a lot of things with the UN. This is a very project-based course, and I think especially now that COVID has kind of settled down a bit, we can do more in-person things with the UN like we did before COVID hit us. In grade 11, all juniors take either Democracy in Action, which is a fairly new course that we have that focuses on the responsibilities of being a citizen, but looking at it through a historical lens and through a seminar format. Or they can take AP US Government. And Throughout grade 11 and 12, the history department also has a rotating cast of characters in terms of other sorts of courses that you can take, whether semester electives like modern conflicts, micro and macro econ, psychology, and so on, or we have a few APs on offer as well, AP World History, AP European, AP Economics, so we have quite a few options there as well. For math, if you go beyond AP Calculus BC, God bless you. You have the possibility of multivariable calculus, but even for those who don't want to get up to multivariable, which is pretty high up there, many of our students take a statistics class, statistics honors or AP Stats, which I think is very useful to know. Or we have another class that's called Advanced Math with financial applications, which is a little more practical, I would say, in a lot of ways. Teaches some more life skills, let's say, when it comes to money. Now, in terms of science, there we go. All right. So we already said grade 9, physics or honors physics, grade 10, chem or chem honors, grade 11, bio or bio honors. All the AP classes in the sciences like biochem and physics expect the student to take a normal high school course prior to the AP course. That's just the way the College Board is. So we do eventually offer, if you're in grades 11 and 12, AP Bio, AP Chem, and one or another version of AP Physics. There's several AP Physics exams. But for people who, don't want to do the APs, and that's quite all right, we have some really interesting electives like marine science, environmental science. This year we're starting a year-long course in forensic science, which I think will be interesting. And also independent science research, which is a year-long course, and is a great course as well. And then with world language, we already said Spanish, French, and Mandarin. We go up to level 5 or to the AP level as needed in terms of the students who are available to take it in a particular year. Then in terms of performing arts, we've already gone through a lot of the electives for that. We do offer AP Music Theory, if any of you is particularly into music, that's a great course to take. But then there are other electives that are not open to freshmen, but are only open to upperclassmen. And many of them are cross-listed with another department. So for example, listen to this, learning history through music, that's cross-listed with history. Shakespeare in action, 20th century drama, cross-listed with English. So you can take it for either English credit or history credit, or for performing arts credit. And then in terms of visual arts, we have so many visual arts courses. It's really quite amazing to me, so I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are just some of the things that await you if you've taken Foundations plus a level 2 course, and then you can really get into some very deep exploration of either two-dimensional media, photography, painting, drawing, sculpture, design, and so on, and also things like art history and independent study. The one department that we haven't talked a lot about yet is computer science, technology, and engineering. And this is where there's only one elective available in this department when you're a freshman, that's the intro robotics course. Once you get to be a sophomore, it opens up more. And there are 3 broad areas that you could look at. You could stick with robotics. We have an advanced robotics honors course, which can actually be taken multiple times. We have an engineering program that currently consists of two-year-long courses, design and analysis and applications of computer science. And then we have a computer science sequence as well that may start with AP Comp Sci Principles, which is for students who are, maybe they're interested, maybe they're not sure. So the College Board developed this program to try to get underrepresented groups into computer science, like for example, girls, right? So you can take that, or if you already are dedicated to Comp Sci, you should start with Comp Sci Honors, which then leads you into AP Comp Sci A. And then we do have a course beyond AP Comp Sci A called Data Structures and Algorithms that is available to you about, for those of you who want to go to that point. And that really is about it on the academic side. You'll get the slides here, but this just gives you an idea of who the department chairs are, in case you need to ask a question specifically about a department and its requirements, and Mrs. Bedford's email and mine are on there as well if you have any questions. So I think at this point, we may have some time for questions later, right? But you have some other people to introduce. One more thing?
Just one more quick thing. Just so everyone is aware, while we're doing placement for the new students now, as you move through your school here at Ranney, you will work with your advisor and with your college counselor to do placement in the future. So you're really going to be having a lot of in-depth conversations as you're moving into sophomore, junior, and senior year. For the transfers, you're going to be doing this really now this summer, but for the freshmen, you'll be doing that to make sure they're going to be asking you, and Ms. Madison will talk about this, what you're looking to do, what colleges you're looking for, what career, your career goals are, and with that, they'll be helping you kind of mold the best schedule for you individually versus, you should take this just because it sounds like the highest level course. And also, don't forget to send those final transcripts in at the end of your year this year. I will be finding you, I'll be calling you up, you're going to hear from me this summer. Yeah?
When will the Google form come out for electives and enrollment?
Sure, I think it'll be by the end of the week. We should have it to everybody.
By the end of this
Yeah, it
week?
should be by the end of the week. In the next few days, we have it all set. We just wanted to be able to have this conversation first, so it wasn't coming out of a place of, I'm not sure why we're getting this, so what should I do with it? Any other questions? And I'm located with the admissions office and the college counseling office right across the pathway here, so if anybody ever has questions, I'm a good start, and I can get you the right person if you don't know who to ask.
For the next portion of the evening's orientation, I just want to say a giant thank you to Mr. Swenson and Ms. Heck for the work that they've done in assembling a wonderful freshman class for us, in welcoming some new sophomores and juniors into the school. Guys, thank you so much. It's a lot of hard work to bring great students to the school. And to Mrs. Bedford for their preparation of this presentation and all the work that they do year-round. You have great folks to help you in your academic pursuits and guidance. I'm also willing to help, as eventually will be the college counseling team. The parents will hear from one of our college counselors in the next session. She is not here with us this evening, but I do think it's important to introduce, virtually maybe not the best way of putting it, a person named Nanetta Duoso, who's the administrative assistant in the upper school. Nanetta makes the trains run on time. She's a wonderful human being, a great person to represent Ranney as the person that greets people that come into the upper school office. If you have questions, you can reach out to Mrs. Bedford, Ms. Curry, to me, to Mrs. Duoso. If we don't have the answer for you, we'll get it to you. So at this point, I do want to direct everyone's attention to Mrs. Patient in the back. Mrs. Patient is our Dean of Student Life. You've heard a little bit about the wonderful things that happen here academically and programmatically, but we know that a student's social life and social development and learning outside of classrooms is critically important. We're excited to be building a class of around 85 to 90 ninth graders, so this will be a big, normal-sized class for us here at Ranney that will create some wonderful social opportunities for you. Don't forget about June 26th, we'll be doing an event at the Pizza Oven. We'll be making some craft pizzas for new students to Ranney. One of the great things about the Pizza Oven is our students built it. So it was one of our first Maymasters. They learned masonry skills. They put their geometry to the test to design the geometrics of the oven itself so heat would circulate really well. And they learned to do a little cooking and a little bit about yeast and sourdough as well. So you'll get to taste, unintended, a little bit of the fruits of their labor if you can join us on June 26th. We haven't set the picnic date for August, but we'll do another one of those events in August to give you an opportunity to come together. And then we have a retreat plan for you that Mrs. Patient has been working hard to plan. September 5th and 6th, I believe, if my memory serves correctly, will be our overnight retreat. So there will be a lot of opportunities. But we wanted to start tonight by offering the students an opportunity to meet some of our current students, do some icebreakers. So at this time, what we'll do is we'll ask the students, I think it's probably a good idea to leave your computers here, and then Mrs. Patient, they'll be coming back here, right?
Yeah, and we're going to actually be outside, so I don't know if you have a jacket or something.
Our original plan was to be in the student center, but it's such a beautiful afternoon, we figured we'd do this outside. So thank you, Mrs. Patient. So students, if you would take a second and head outside with Mrs. Patient and our peer mentors, and then we'll get started here with some other information, non-academic.